Found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We can be found online at drawincustomers.com and just click on the podcast link. We're locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is James Kademan, entrepreneur, author, speaker, and helpful coach to small business owners across the country. Today, we're welcoming / preparing to learn from Carrie Waters Schmidt, the owner of Equanimity Wealth Planning and Investing. So because of compliance, we have to throw this introduction out here. So here it goes. My guest today is Carrie Waters Schmidt. She is a financial planner at Equanimity Wealth Planning and Investing in Madison, Wisconsin, offering comprehensive financial planning services through Lincoln Financial Advisors Corp., a broker/dealer, member SIPC, and registered investment advisor. Equanimity Wealth Planning and Investing is a marketing name for registered representatives of Lincoln Financial Advisors. Opinions expressed are those of Carrie Waters Schmidt and not necessarily those of Lincoln Financial Advisors Corporation. To the extent that she may provide clients with investment advisory services, including either financial planning services or ongoing investment advice, she may act in a fiduciary capacity related to those services under the federal securities laws. This is funny. In particular, the Investment Advisors Act of 1940. Make note of that, right? Lincoln Financial Advisors and its representatives do not provide legal or tax advice. The content of this podcast is for informational purposes. What else would it be for? It is not intended to be personalized or specific in nature or to be relied upon for your personal situation in any circumstance. We encourage you to consult a legal or tax advisor prior to making tax-related investment and or insurance decisions. So, there you have it. Let's keep moving. Carrie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm excited to have you on the show because I've known you for, let's call it a long time.
That's right.
And it sounds like your business has evolved as it's grown.
Yes.
Very
much so.
That's good, right?
I'm not complaining.
Okay.
That's good.
So let's talk about what does Equanimity Wealth Planning and Investing do for people?
Well, so we are a little bit different than some other financial planners, I guess you could say. I call myself a financial planner because that truly is what I am. Mm-hmm. Some people like to call themselves that, and it means that they like to sell you insurance, or it means that they like to get you into the markets, and then they only worry about that piece of life. But all clients start with me, and we do a financial plan so that I look over everything, so that there is no way that if I tell you to get into this thing over here, it's going to have some sort of bad effect over here, right? And so that's something that that we do on a fee for service, because I want you also to be able to say, I can take this over to my investment guy and over to my insurance person and have all of those pieces taken care of. But then if someone wants to invest with me, great. I love investing. It's really fun. And then we have a couple extra specialties too that we do. One of them being investing for socially responsible investments. So for someone who maybe doesn't want to invest in something that doesn't feel ethically or morally aligned with their inner compass. So we could say, I'm a total greenie. And so here I am saying, we could go into environmental investments, or we could say you want to worry about equity and diversity issues, or there's so many good causes out there that you can really focus on, right? So there's that for in the investment world. When it comes down to financial planning, I focus on the LGBTQ plus community, and then also recently divorced, or folks who are going through divorces. So basically, I am all about focusing on giving folks back their power into the markets in a place where, you normally feel kind of scared or overwhelmed or what have you. So yeah, so we're, like I said, just a little different because we kind of take it to that next level where we look at everything.
All right. So how long have you been in the financial planning world?
17 years.
17 years?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So
I know I look so young.
Ups and downs?
Yes. Yes.
So 17 years ago, what made you decide to get into the financial planning world?
So I was in college, and I'm going to not lie about this at all. It's actually really hilarious and embarrassing all in one story. So I went to college saying all I knew I wanted to do was be my mom. And my mom sat at a desk and she worked HR. That's all I knew. I just think my mom's amazing. So I was always like, I'll do whatever mom does, right? And I worked at the mall and I worked retail, which was miserable. And quit there and said, where can I go that has better hours that will be more understanding and just fit into my lifestyle better. The fact that I'm going through college, I'm trying to pay for college, I'm, all these things. So I got a job at a bank simply because I was like, you don't work weekends. You don't work past 6 p.m.
Right.
That sounds pretty good. So I got a job there and I knew I was going to do something business, but whatever. And then as I started being in the bank world, I was like, I like this. I can do this. And so started just taking all the classes that they offered for us at the bank. And then of course I'm getting my schooling done. And then it just evolved into more than that. It was like, well, banking's cool and everything, but you know what's really cool? Like making it even, like take it 6 steps ahead of that. And that's, on top of that. And that's where I was like, we can be puzzle makers. We can make dreams come true. We can do some really, really amazing, cool things. So yeah, I just took it a step above that, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that evolved into you becoming a financial planner, essentially?
Good call. Yes. So I was at the bank. I thought I was going to be a lifer. And I graduated and HR kept going, oh yeah, Carrie, we've got this spot for you. You're going to get into financial planning any day now. And they kept holding this carrot. And then eventually one of the other planners out there, which thank God for them, said, Carrie, actually, we are laying off people in this department. So I don't think you're going to get a position in here anytime soon. And so then I said to myself, basically, am I going to stay here and hope that they are going to do something besides the fact that they're, lying? They're obviously not telling you the truth. Or do you do something about it? And so I went out and I interviewed. And, to be honest, in this world, if you have a pulse and you say you're interested, I don't even know if they care if you're interested. They will take you, right? They're like, nice. Oh, fabulous. All right. A person you can sell to all your family and friends. Great. And then if you don't make it, who cares? It's fine. I mean, it sucks for you, but it's great for us. So let's keep going. Right. And so, I'm not going to, it sounds braggart like, but it's true. I had all these things where I was like, I can do this. I don't need you to interview me. No, I'm actually going to interview you. So, so I went into that world and I found the place that felt like they were genuine and moved there because everyone else was like, we want you. And I'm like, well, I know you want me. And that's not even a compliment. That's what it kind of felt like, okay, like, I know, thanks. I mean, it wasn't a stroke of confidence or a stroke of ego. It was like, I know you do. I knew you wanted me before I walked in because I'm a human. But so I found the right one and I've been there for 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, when you first walked into those interviews, did you know right away that they were just looking for a human?
Oh yeah.
Or did they? Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's like industry. It's just like the industry understanding. It is.
Okay. I didn't.
And yeah. And it's a sad thing because when you start looking at people's like their broker histories, which you can, no one usually sticks around longer than 2 years wherever they are. Then they bop over to the next one and then they bop over to the next one. And that tells me some things. And then it makes me question some things. And I'm not saying if you're in an unhappy relationship, like, okay, you're married, you said forever and now you're stuck, right? It's not like that. But how come you're not staying there? Right? I mean, was it that they treated you only like a person who walked in and they're like, oh, good for you, move on now, you're done here? I don't know, but those are questions that are really worth looking into when you're starting out.
Totally. Yeah. I wonder, I guess I didn't know until I got a few years of experience in the networking world that you'd meet some person that's just like, I'm at whatever XYZ financial company. I'm 3 months in, how's it going? Great. Sold my mom, my grandma and whatever.
Yeah.
and you're like, wait a second, I see the game here.
Yeah.
You sell the people that are close to you.
Yeah.
You drum up that tiny book of business. You leave because you didn't make the numbers.
Yep.
That book of business stays with that business.
And it's
Stays with
like
that
almost
XYZ
genius.
financial company.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, that's kind of a shady deal, but I get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, it's pretty gross. And then, you know, they've got recruiters that are constantly calling because, you know, they're getting how many bucks to bring you over somewhere too. And so it doesn't feel right to me. And that's not the way I want to do business. And that's not the way, thankfully, that our office is there. I mean, up until a couple of years ago, I was the most, what do you call it? I was the newbie of the group.
Oh, really? Up until a couple months ago?
Up until a couple of years ago.
A couple of years
Sorry
ago.
if I said months, but like seriously, at year 14 or 15, I was still the newest one out of the group.
Oh, everybody's calling you kid.
Yeah, right. I mean, a lot of the people there are not much older than me, and then we've got some senior folks. But the people, that were there had all just been there. I mean, that's what I walked in, and I was like, "So who all you got here?" And oh, these guys have been here forever. These guys have been here, you know, forever. And I was like, that's my answer. Thank you.
All right.
I'll come back there.
All right.
Yeah.
So they weren't necessarily throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks.
No, I mean, I was hired with another guy that didn't stay. I mean, he didn't stay there. Now, I think he's still in the business. He's somewhere else. I don't know what the reasoning or the differentiation is. We are not salaried. I mean, we are 100% just business owners, you know. I mean, you better be doing something, and if it's, you know, whatever it takes, right?
Yeah.
But I was really lucky. When I started, I was underneath someone who had been in the business for, at that time, I want to say it was 30 years, and I want to say it's close to 50 now. And
wow.
Well, obviously, if you do the math, it is. Anyway, and then she understood, and don't get me wrong, I mean, she pulled me in and she was like, so, you know, it's 2009, it's the year after Great Recession, which was, you know, pretty scary and pretty ugly. And she was like, I see your numbers aren't that awesome. And I was like, yeah, I know. And she says, you know, what's the reasoning? And I said, because right now is not the time to be making a change. If they were in the right thing before this, then it's the right thing still. And I'm not going to make any changes. And she understood that. And though she still was questioning me, like, okay, but, you know, this is still a numbers game. You know, don't you have to eat? You know, I'm going, this is the hardest year of my life. It was harder than my first year starting, but it was the right thing to do. And, you know, I never had pressure. That she asked me that question, but I never had pressure. I had no one on my back going, if you don't make this number, whatever, you're gone.
Oh,
that was important to me.
That's huge.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that speaks volumes, because I could see that happening in just about any sales job.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I guess some of it is that they're going, I guess we don't care if you're paying your rent, you're paying your, you know, I lease my computer. They won't even let me buy a dang computer. I have to lease it for, you know, 150 times more than what it's charged, right? But, you know, they're just like, well, if you're paying your bills, okay.
Right.
You know, all right.
Interesting.
And yeah, I've just never been pestered since then. And thankfully, I'm in a very different situation than I was in 2008. You know, let's say that won't ever happen again. But, you know, and I've built the practice differently than I had at that time. I was still pretty new at that time.
Right.
You know, and things look very different now because I've learned lessons from that. But it's not built so that I'd have to make changes so that I do it at the wrong timing for what's right for other people.
Yeah, I suppose there's definitely value in experience, and going through something like a 2008 is probably necessary to learn. Otherwise, you're
Big deal.
thinking it's rainbows and moonbeams all the time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who start in the business, and they the first thing they do. Here's one for you. So I had a lady in 2008 that was telling me, she was in her 80s, and she would call me almost every day. And so I had nightmares. I mean, I think we all did as financial planners. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't know where the bottom was. It was scary. We were losing Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers, and I mean, you name it. It was kind of freaky, right? And this lady was in her 80s, and she's calling me scared. She told me as she was crying, as she would cry every time, I think the Republicans are trying to kill me, she said. And, everything is just coming down to just, I mean, she's frightened out of her mind. And I said, don't worry. We have you in something that is so appropriate for you. You are in something that cannot move. It is guaranteed, no matter what, to pay you, I think it was 3%, because we've got a program that they don't offer anymore, but they did offer. And she was in it, and she was in it for 3%. As the market started to turn around, she called me up and she said to me, don't you think it's time to get me back in the market? And I said, no, I don't really think it is. It's not that I don't want you to see the market to come back up, and it's not that I don't want you to have more money and all those good things. It's that I don't want you to ever go back through that again, ever. And I can't tell you that this is going to be a straight line up. It's going to be bumpy. And when it is, or if it double dips, or if, that could be devastating. You're in your 80s. What are we going to do? And she called me maybe a week later and said, oh, I found a guy who's going to get me in the market. And I thought, oh, okay, I hope this goes well for you. And the only thing I was thinking to myself was, it must be someone new, because who else would ever put an 80-some-year-old woman back in the market when we're on shady ground right now?
Yeah.
And it just, and thankfully, the market came back since then. I mean, there were ups and downs. Hopefully she didn't, make a knee-jerk reaction in the wrong time between then. But so looking back, it's like, okay, yes, at least. But yeah, that was not good. That was no good.
So he looked like a hero.
He looked like a hero. Luck. I'm the jerk.
Yeah,
that's right. Okay. It's okay. I mean, I just had someone leave the end of 2018, basically. And it sounds really awful, but I basically, I shouldn't even use this word, but I basically fired them because they were expecting me to do get them gains with the market, and then when the market dropped, to not have any loss. And so they were pretty low risk and expected me to do things that isn't possible. And so they said to me, I'm really hoping that you can find a way to make this more growthy, because all of our friends and family, I mean, they're doing amazing. And I said, yeah, but I think their risk tolerance is a little different. Like literally they called me or emailed me every time the market was a little down.
Wow.
And so, so that's kind of scary, right?
Right.
And I don't want to be the person to ruin your life. So, okay. And so they came in, sat down, and I had the conversation just saying, I don't think I'm the person for you, and I'm really sorry, but I can't be that. And I just have this really icky feeling that the second you leave and you get into the market's going to drop. Well, it wasn't long after, it was half a year out, because it takes time to move the money, and it takes time to discuss things and whatever. They left, I'd say 6 months before the pandemic hit. And I certainly hope that they didn't make a mistake. And that's terrifying to me. I can't do anything about it. Would they have been sheltered if they were with me? I'd like to say to a degree, because we weren't going bananas, right? I mean, we were appropriate for them. But I still think about them, and I loved them like as humans. And and it makes me kind of sad. It makes me hope that they went and didn't make a bad decision.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those, you never know.
And I won't know.
Yeah.
And maybe it's better that way. I don't know. But I mean, they had good money, so it's not like it would kill them if they lost a little bit. Right. But emotionally, I think it would have, because that's who they were. Right.
Yeah. So. If you don't have the stomach for the risk, then it's what can you expect? I guess to a point.
Right.
So I get that. So tell me about 2008 and how that all shook out. Because at that point, you're, I don't know, neighborhood of 7 years in?
4 years in. I'm 4 years in.
4 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So you knew how to make orders and stuff like that, but you weren't driving a Ferrari or anything.
No, I wasn't. Yeah, so we knew in 2007 something was coming. I mean, don't you can kind of see certain signs, right?
Oh yeah.
And so we knew that it was being overpriced. We knew that no tree grows to the sky. I mean, things just are just not permanent in that way. And so we knew that. So we were first of all, we all were being like, well, okay, so we know this, so let's prepare for something. We didn't know, how drastic or whatever. And then when it sets in on us, it was kind of scary. And then September rolls around and it was like, oh, okay, hold on to your butts, guys. This is some serious stuff. So I I started having nightmares, like I said, every night. It was, what's the market going to do tomorrow? What's the market going to do tomorrow? And I remember one of our most seasoned advisors sat all of us down, and we were, at this huge conference table. I mean, there's not a ton of us, but there's enough of us, maybe 20 of us or something. And we're all sitting at this table, and she just said, well, I'm scared, you're scared, we're all scared. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what's going to happen, but we just have to have faith that the market is going to come back, because it always has. And that's just how it is. And, we just have to have faith. And I just remember that conversation of just being like, I love your fortitude, your just faith in this, instead of being like, all right, so all of us pack up your stuff. This is awful. Our lives are doomed. Let's jump out windows and say, forget it, right? It was really beautiful, because you could tell, like I said, that she was just as scared as the rest of us. And then, and I remember another senior planner there had said, we have to also remember that even still, he would just joke, and I mean, obviously there's nothing to it, but we know we went to the office every day. So he would say to clients, when I would do a joint work with him, he would say, even if Lincoln went under, which, that wasn't a thing, it was just a hypothetical thing, right? Even if Lincoln went under, we're sitting in an office with stuff. So Lincoln has stuff. It's worth something. Most of these businesses have something worth something.
Sure.
If they're cooking the books really bad, obviously that's a different deal. There's some things to that too. But no matter what, the fact that there, even with a fire sale, there might be something there. So, we have to have faith in these things, I guess, is what it was coming down to. It wasn't, yeah, like I said, it wasn't the let's all jump out of windows, we're all doomed. It was better than that, thankfully. And that type of guidance has made it so that I can say that when we're going through a pandemic, going, I have nothing to base this on. I have no idea where the bottom is, and I have no idea how deep this could get or how awful this could really get, because it's global. Right? So that was cool.
So I guess coming now, right, 10 plus years later, we have pandemic, or the tail end of pandemic, hopefully.
Yes, right.
And markets are not crashing. They're going crazy high.
I know.
Like crazy high. So how does that work? How does that happen?
Yeah, right. So there's lots of pieces. So so I have a blog. It's not a salesy blog. So if anyone's interested to check it out, I'd say do it, because there is information on there. Like, I've likened cryptocurrencies to Beanie Babies, because it's a fad, right?
Perfect.
And I sold a Beanie Baby for $175, and I just remember being like, that sucker just bought $175 worth of a Beanie Baby. What?
Made them happy, and hopefully they sold it for $250, right?
I hope, right? Except she told me she had an entire garage storage unit filled. That was going to be her grandchildren's schooling And so we'll see if that happens.
Oh, yeah. They
College
made other
payments.
mistakes, so not
Yeah,
your fault.
oops. Yeah. Nope, not my fault. Right. But yeah, so there's things in the market that could be seeing each way right now. You could say it is overvalued if it looked at certain things, and then you could say there's a lot of pent up value or pent up demand, and with the supply chain shortages, okay, well, until we can satisfy that, how can you say that we're not doing okay? Like our economy is not actually it's just not even producing enough. So there's pieces that you could say both ways.
Right.
That's exactly why I'm so grateful, to be honest, even though it was really hard, that I had the 2008 because now people will come into me and they'll be all like, I'm willing to take risk. I'm like, you don't know what risk is, so we're not going to talk like that. Okay, so it's 2008 and again, markets are down by 54%, and you feel what? And we go that route. And then when this came around, guess how many phone calls I got about being scared? And this is bizarre. I literally got I think it was 2 the entire pandemic. And they were from the ones
Even
I
in
predicted.
March,
but
when there was that blip dump.
When it was nasty and
Yeah.
I was freaking out, yes. and actually I got phone calls quite the opposite. I got phone calls from people who, and I've been saying this all along, buy it when it's on sale, buy it when it's on sale. And these folks called me and they're like, so I have way too much cash. Can I just get into the market? And I'm like, yes, but I don't know if this is the bottom. I don't know any of this. So, I mean, we're taking a risk with it. Oh yeah, nope, 100% know it, 100%. Okay, then let's do it.
Nice. Worked out so far.
And it worked out. They're very lucky. I mean, it could have easily gone the other way. I mean, that's how life works. But I think we built it enough that I have learned to make expectations very clear in the beginning of, I am not here to be the one that is going to win you $1 bazillion. I won't find that stock for you where you're going to walk out and being like, Carrie found me the one that just got me, whatever. I don't want to be that person. I want you to be able to rely on what I have to say. So you can go find someone fun like that, but you can't bank dreams on that. I had a guy actually tell me, I went to the employer for one of the employer plans I do. And he sat down. He was in line with other people, so that he's wasting other people's time because he thought he legit had a spot in line. He came in and he thought he had a legit thing to talk to me about. He said, he straight face, totally believe this. When I win the Powerball tonight, what are we going to do with that money? And I was like, can we talk about this when you do win the Powerball? I mean, I hope I'm the person you talk to at that point, but I can tell you that is not something to build your life on.
That's awesome. I just watched The Secret. I'm just believing.
I mean, The Secret, I get it. And I am with you on a lot of that. Okay. I mean, law of attraction, baby. I've brought a lot of cool things into my life because of that. Yes. But, I am not gonna go and expect, I don't know. It didn't happen. So maybe he wasn't doing the law of attraction right. I don't know. Let's just say it wasn't the thing
enough
to base right or believe it enough or something, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't base your life on the what ifs like that. You have to be a little bit more grounded. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, yeah.
Interesting. This is a person that you'd never met before?
So I do, I manage 10 or so different retirement plans with employers. It's not something I like to focus on, but mm-hmm. I do have a couple of employer plans that I do. And gotcha. So
he was an employee of.
Yeah. So when you're there, you don't know who's going to be walking in. So it could be any of the employees. And so, yeah, it was just one of those folks. And, like I said, there were a whole bunch of people in line after him and they had legit things to talk about. And,
yeah. Interesting. Okay, when you say line, you meant that you went to their place of business, whatever?
Yeah, I do. Gotcha. And I set up in there and then they, come in
and
meet me one after each other.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
When you it's horrible.
Stories, right?
That is
There's a
interesting.
billion of them.
So you, I guess, let's talk about your fee for services. You essentially don't do commission stuff. It's just pay for consulting. Is that right?
Well, in a way. So I've built the business very different than the way that I had started it as. And so when I first started, I was being more mentored under um, a group, and I left that group in 2010. And so when I was with them, all I really knew was this is how you do business, because this is how they do business, and they're successful, and everyone in the industry, respects them and whatever. So I assume this means that this is the only way to do it. And then when I broke off, at that point I had earned my master's degree in financial planning, and I had gotten at least one certificate, the certified financial planner designation at that point. And so basically kind of went off being like, I could build this however I want. Okay, what do I want? And thankfully, there's another advisor at the firm that has been really good to me. We have, everyone's there's just so wonderful. You'd think, we're all in competition, so everybody hates each other or whatever, but everyone's been so good to me.
Sure.
And
nice.
so, yeah, so we would go out to lunch and he'd give me some nice pointers and whatever. And one of the things that he had said was, you just need to make things more reliable, and you need to do less commission work, and recognize that, yes, that means that you might starve a little today because you're not getting the commissions all at one time, but instead they're paying you over the duration of your career. And that made for a couple hard years, but I like so much of it. The idea of it, the ability to say, I am your fiduciary and I am working on your behalf, and all I want to do is make your account do what it needs to for you, and I'm going to get paid the same if I don't or I do, right? So sometimes the markets are not in our favor, but am I still giving you advice? Yes. Am I trying to make it so that it's not the worst experience of your life? Yeah. Hopefully I'm going to make it a softer experience than it would have been if you didn't have me. That's the idea. But there are some people out there that say, well, why would I be paying you if the market's down and I'm losing money? Well, I have to be able to show my worth. You won't always win money with me, but the clients have I believe valued that. I mean, these numbers aren't small. The quarterly fees that these people are paying me are not small, but I have hopefully shown them my value. I know exactly what the money is going to be used for, or what their desire is for risk, and all of those pieces, because I did the plan already. I know what this is meant to do. And so there's no surprises really. And that is awesome, because I can kind of get an idea of what I'm going to get paid. It's not a surprise. And then I guess, everyone I'm still a business owner. I still want to have more bigger, whatever clients, more, whatever, ideal clients. But in the meantime, I'm not struggling. I'm feeling, I'm feeling secure. I'm feeling good. That's what a business is supposed to be about. So some of my people from the very beginning are still commissioned because they chose to remain that way. And when we go through the numbers, it is less expensive for them unless we make big changes. So they've decided not to. And I would much prefer not to do it that way. It makes me feel, anytime that I'm giving them a suggestion, it makes me feel like they're thinking to themselves, oh, Carrie needs a boat payment, and I'm like, ugh, that's not right at all. If you don't do this, it's because it's going to make a big deal to you. It has your whatever $300 commission or whatever it is. It doesn't mean anything to me, but I mean, whatever. So yeah, so fee for service, and that's just the way I prefer to do it. And it turns out, thankfully, that advisor who gave me that suggestion was able to see the future, I guess we could say, because that's really the wave of the future. People aren't doing commissions anymore, and if they are, I'm surprised.
When you say people, do you mean financial planners or do you
Advisors
mean
or,
clients?
yeah, I mean, clients, when they're doing it, they would think that if it came down to that, they would do it on their own.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they want advice, they're going to pay an advisory fee. And that's, more of that quarterly fee that I was mentioning. Otherwise, they'll just say, oh, well, what you've done, if I'm going to just pay you, I might as well just pay E-Trade or whatever's cheap out there, and do it that way. And then I'm just a commodity. I'm not even,
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like
Totally.
I don't even mean anything to anybody then.
Yeah.
Fine.
Just a bag of coffee.
Right? I mean, come on.
So how have you seen, I guess, in speaking in that, how have you seen the whole industry change since you've started? In 17 years is a long time, going through 2008, going through the pandemic, the whole Dodd-Frank stuff. I mean, there's been a lot of
Look at
changes.
you.
So
knowing
how has
stuff.
the industry evolved?
Well, we're definitely seeing it in a couple different ways. So it for a while there. So my husband is also a business owner,
Okay.
and he owns a landscaping business, and um, yeah, we have these struggles together. I think we commiserate when he's going, everyone in my field, all they're doing, it's a race to the bottom, and I'm saying, well, yeah, I guess so. For the fee sensitive people, they are,
Because
but
they're lowering their prices to compete.
that's all they're doing. Yeah. And to the point where it's cutthroat, you look at them and go, how do you even make anything off of this? I mean, you must be just rolling a line of credit constantly or something. I don't, we don't, it doesn't make sense, um, and in a way, that's what the market is doing in my industry. And people are looking at me going, so what is it you do here? Always reminds me of Office Space, right?
Right.
So, well, why would I pay you when I can go to Robinhood app, or I could go to whatever other cheap do-it-yourself Schwab or whatever, right? Okay, very fair. All of those things are super cheap, and you could make $1 bazillion, or you could lose $1 bazillion. I guess that's the choice you're making, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're willing to take that risk, or you're willing to do all the work behind it, cool. But my value has been very niched now, where it has really turned into, first of all, I'm only going to work with people I want to work with. So it's kind of,
Nothing wrong with that.
yeah, it's not, yeah, right. So, I mean, I don't want to be snobby or anything, but if we aren't on the same wavelength, I'm not going to try to win you over. It's a waste of my time. You're not going to even probably sway, so it doesn't matter. And then the other side to that is someone who actually believes that there is something that I can bring to the table. I mean, having a master's degree in financial planning, having a certified financial planner designation, having 3 other designations, in this industry, I'm worth it. And I don't, that's a hard thing for me to just come out and say, because I'm female. I don't know, maybe that's a normal thing where we think, oh my goodness, that's pretty snobby that she just said that, but it's true. I mean, side note, this was the best advice one of my mentors ever told me. He said to me when I was being cheap or not valuing myself, he said to me, okay, so Carrie, with someone with all of these credentials, and just, kind of listed off some of the credentials I had, and he just said, so what would you pay that person per hour? And I instantly thought to myself, well, a man at that, I would probably pay him this. And then I remember thinking to myself, Carrie, what are you doing?
Whoa.
Yeah. And then I was just like, okay. I see what you're saying. So I went halvesies. He's telling me to pay. I'm thinking I'd pay a man to do this. And then I'm thinking, well, here I am. I'm like, you know what? I'll take a leap in and I'll go halvesies, which is a sad world. But anyway, so that is anyway, finding the thing that I bring to the table, the value, it is turning into now, if you are not more holistic, or if you are not someone that is niche-y, you are going to completely phase out. No
Sure.
one's gonna care. And I think that's pretty normal for a lot of things, right? But if I can just find you a stock that is gonna quadruple, that's cool. But who's to say you couldn't go on there and look for book to value and price earnings and blah 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 stuff, just like I did? Nothing. But how are you going to replicate?
I think
Okay,
there's value
well,
in that. If
and you
you're
might be
picking
right.
individual stocks that are quadrupling,
True.
clearly not everyone can do that.
Yeah, but I'm going to also say neither do I. I don't like to do it.
Okay. You don't like to do that?
Not for clients. For myself,
Okay.
not for clients.
Clients is more an index fund thing, or
No, I don't do that either, though. I'm not an index person.
okay.
So that's the other thing, is someone has to buy into my philosophy too, right?
Right.
Because how many people are like, well, I just want to be cheap, and I'm going, that's cool, but like, you can be cheap and buy like a car that barely runs. That's cheap. I mean, is that what you want to do? I bet you if I walked outside, I'd notice you didn't have a car that was just barely running. So, I mean, you value, you just need to see what the value is, right? So,
Right. Totally.
yeah. So, I don't do that. I don't do individual stock because I want to be able to be talking to people like you or clients or whatever, and not worry to myself, did we just miss whatever trade that whatever happened during the day? Did I miss out on something? And that's not going to get you in the end where you need to go. Whereas I know that a mutual fund picker is going to be right on Johnny on the spot. They're going to say, I know exactly when to buy Toyota and when to buy Lenovo and all the things I have around my office that I'm looking for name brands.
Sure.
You know, those things are things that they do every day, and they have algorithms to tell them what's right and what's wrong. And I have trusted them for that. So that's cool. And so I manage, I guess people call us like quarterbacks, but you also have to remember, I don't really know much about football. So hopefully that resonated with you, because I think it just means that I
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. So I guess the mutual funds that you're putting people in, those are actively manually managed by
unless there's a reason that I look at it and I'm like, yeah, you can't really do better than the average anyway. I mean, if that's the typical for that, whatever, then yeah, we'll probably end up in an index of some sort.
Gotcha.
But
okay.
Yeah. But I mean, it's all the pieces. It's do you Roth it or do you not? Do you, what's your tax bracket look like now versus later? I mean, how many people know, question, do you know this? In 2025, that this tax brackets are going back to the way they were before the Trump tax reform. Did you know that was happening? Right? How many people do?
I don't know.
Not many, but they are. They totally are.
I mean, that's 4 years away. That could change.
And it absolutely could change. But in the meantime, what I'm doing with clients is saying, did you get hurt by that, or did you actually benefit from it? And if you benefited from it, how do we take best advantage of that? Because we've only got 4 years.
All right.
Right. So it's a look at, from taxes, estate planning, yes, investments, what type of risk are you willing to take, whatever. But I mean, it's everything put together. And that's where I feel like I'm coming in going, you know, you could do my job too. That's true. It will take you a little bit of work and a little bit of time to catch up to where I'm at. But if you're willing to do it, go ahead. That's cool.
Right.
But I know I could maybe be a doctor. I'm not a big needle person, but I don't want to be a doctor, so I'm still going to go see a doctor.
It's all good.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's where I stand. And I think that's where the market is going. And that's why I've moved that way. Not only does it feel more genuine to me, it also feels like I have to show a worth somehow. And if I don't, I'm not going to be around long.
Oh, yeah. Everybody does. Yeah. You have to provide, illustrate value beyond providing the value, because sometimes you see it, but if the clients don't see it,
yeah, what's it doing then? It
doesn't matter if you have it or not. If they don't see the value, there's no one to show it to.
Right. I'm sure that's sitting in a couple of your books.
What's that?
The one that I told you I was going to read, and it's on my list. It's just after this one I'm finishing.
Nice.
Promise.
funny. It's on the, yeah, doesn't matter. Tell me about the niche that you decided to go on as far as the crowd goes, the LBGT crowd. Tell me why you picked that and what kind of success you've had with that.
Yeah, that's a great question because I am not of that community. And so sometimes it feels like I'm someone walking in and I could see people looking at me and being like, she just walked in with a guy and he's not trans. I mean, he's a guy and I'm pretty sure she's a girl and she's not trans. So what is this?
All right.
Who are you trying to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something I do have to overcome, I guess you could say. But when I was doing my master's degree, in the very end, we had to do a capstone, and my capstone was I was just coming across at that point because I had all these clients who were in gay relationships, and I'm going, did you guys know this? This is really awful. All the things that are like all these extra hoops you got to do. This is awful. And the weirdest ramifications would come through. Like, if I had health insurance on my partner, because we weren't married, I'd get imputed taxes on the benefit that my employer was paying for them because we're not married. So that's considered that's a taxable income to me. And now I'm taxed on it. It was just bogus. And it really grinded me. And I was like, no, all this extra, this is awful. So I started going through it. And then after I got the degree, then I shortly after I noticed there was a program out there for the Accredited Domestic Partnership Advisor. And I said, done, easy, let's take it. What I don't know, I want to know. And so I went through the program, which taught me all about the differences in law, the differences in taxation, the differences in inheritance. It's a lot.
Really?
Oh my gosh.
All right.
My gosh. The things you would not think. And then thankfully, marriage equality came through and it wasn't as big of a deal. But I still work with a lot of people who have just chosen, whether they're same sex or not, to not get married.
Mm-hmm.
Or they can't because there are Social Security issues that come with that if you were pre-married. So there's a lot of things that come in with that, and it just felt like, how is anyone really going to know all of these things? There's so much to remember on top of the fact that you're a professional and you're doing your job and you've got a family and you got whatever. I mean, life is a lot. And so if the more complicated it is, the more I like it. So I'm looking at it going, how can I help you get your puzzle pieces together? Because this is complicated. This is really complicated. And if you've adopted children, it's like 16 steps uglier. It's really way more than you'd expect it to be. And so, so that became a big focus for me. And I have made so many beautiful relationships with my clients, and I think it's something because not only are they beautiful people, and I adore them and think of them as friends. I mean, we jibber jab and just have a good time together, but also because they feel safe with me and they know that I am someone who genuinely looked into this instead of just being like, I'm a good person. I love you. Can we love each other together? Okay, well, I'm going to pretend I know what I'm talking about. Instead, I took that extra step to be like, here's all the extras. I can power pack this. I've got info and I'll help you. I just had a client call me from Florida last week. She set up a time to meet with me on my calendar directly. I'd never heard of her. And she's just like, yeah, so here I am. And, tell me your story. All right, we're talking. And I'm like, so how did you find me? I said, like as meek as possible. Like, I'm not judging. I'm just curious. And she said, well, I typed in LGBTQ Madison advisor and you popped up because I've talked with other people and I go in there and the thing I'm afraid to say is I am in a very committed relationship with another lady. And I may even be on the phone. I could just feel the tension of like, oh, Oh, yeah.
Weird.
That's
Why does it
uncomfortable.
matter? Everybody, the money's
Right?
green. They want to make more green money.
Yeah, right. Right? It's
Do
all
your
green and we
job,
all want
man.
more green money. It's very wild. And I have to say that I have really noticed being an advocate that it's even like and it's thankfully not as often as maybe it would have been, but I get these sideways glances like, oh, you're that kind of hippie, huh? Okay. Yeah. All right. Excuse me?
That's weird.
It's very weird.
That's weird.
It's very weird. But with it, uh, folks, especially maybe even more so, trans people, are coming even from behind the eight ball because many of them um, have just had so many life insecure experiences and trauma built into their lives that they maybe don't feel that they're worth a job that they are worth,
Oh,
um, or maybe they've just struggled because they were kicked out of their homes earlier, right? And so they just maybe never even got into college like they wanted to because they just couldn't afford it. And so a lot of times there's this starting behind the eight ball issue where I'm going, honey, I'll catch you back up. No, you just tag with me and I'll get you right where you need to go. And yeah, it's stuff that you don't realize until you're kind of there to know.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
That's something. I guess there's value right there, right? Because
Right. And that's where the divorce came from too, because how many women, and I mean, I had one divorced guy, but everyone else has been women. They all are like, um, so I'm single now and I didn't pay attention to this stuff before, or I did, but now I feel like I was raked over the coals and I've got nothing, or I've got big decisions to make and I realize this is all on me now. And, how do we do this? And I want to be that person to just be like, you know what? Come on, I'll take you.
let's
Just
get
come with
this.
me. We'll get you where you need to go. And
All right.
it's pretty cool because, um, you know, that's a really scary place. And I know that if I were ever there, I'd want someone to be taking care of me too.
That's fair. That's totally
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
Cool. Carrie, we're almost out of time here. I did want to ask you a question, a little financial advice if you can do that.
We'll
What is
see.
one thing that you just routinely see as far as a mistake that you
Oh
see a lot of
yeah.
people making universally, whether the clients or just random people on the street that you happen to know? What is the financial mistake that you see a lot of people making that you're just like, oh, why don't people just whatever?
Right? Um, oh God, I could name like five. Uh,
5 is cool.
okay. So, um, investing where you don't belong.
All right.
Stay in your lane. Right? If you don't know what you're doing, right? I just met an 18-year-old the other day that told me he wanted to invest in weed and cars. So I don't, I don't know. We'll see where that
Coincidentally, maybe
goes.
that is his lane.
And that might be very much his lane. Yeah. That might be above him. I don't know. I guess we're going to find out. And then a lot of people's take on loans. It's very interesting, especially with loan rates right now being as absolutely low as they are.
Oh, they're dirt.
Um, huh?
They're dirt. Super
Oh
low.
my, they're paying you to have this money in your hands. And, people are going, so should I like pay now triple on my mortgages? And I'm going, there's a thing called opportunity cost. No, don't do that, please. So that's a biggie. And I'm not a fan of indexes because everybody is obsessed with price. And I think that's half the equation. Half the story is the price. But if I tell people all the time, I will gladly pay you way more if I knew I was going to come out with way more in the end. Price is like half the equation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that is an important piece. Okay, so that's what, 3 or 4? Those might be my biggest.
All right.
I don't know if I've got any more.
Cool. Awesome. Carrie, where can people find you?
Equanitywealth.com.
All right.
Right?
You sound cautious, like I
Because
think.
I don't normally go to my website. Pretty sure it's that. And you could email me at carrie.schmidt@lfg.com.
Carrie.schmidt@lfg.com. Can you spell Schmidt for us?
Yes.
Since there's probably about 50 different ways
S-C-H.
people can spell that.
SCHMIDT.
Awesome. Carrie, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, James.
This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We are underwritten locally by the Bank of Sun Prairie. If you're listening to this on the web, which you probably are, please be sure to give a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, and of course share with all of your entrepreneurial friends as well, I should say, as your friends that are interested in growing the green money, because that's always good. My name is James Kademan, entrepreneur, author, speaker, and helpful coach to small business owners across the country. Oh, what else we got here? Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by Calls on Call, offering call answering and receptionist services for service businesses across the country on the web at callsoncall.com, as well as Draw In Customers Business Coaching, offering business coaching services for entrepreneurs looking for growth on the web at drawincustomers.com. And of course, The Bold Business Book, a book for the entrepreneur in all of us, available wherever fine books are sold. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, as well as our guest, Carrie Waters Schmidt, the owner of Equanimity Wealth Planning and Investing. Carrie, can you give us that website one more time?
Equanitywealth.com.
Awesome. Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night. The podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Thank you for listening. We will see you next week. I want you to stay awesome. And if you do nothing else, enjoy your business.